So I just want to remind all of you that after the service today at 11:45, we will be gathering in the back, sort of in front of where the sound and video booth are and where the camera will no longer be, because we're going to have another halo around your ideas for ministry with aging persons, both within and without our community. We did young people last week, we're doing aging this week, and you will be getting, at the end of the week from me, a very long missive that will be description of everything that we talked about, and then there will be a question at the end of all of that. Not a test, just a question. Is there no balm in Gilead? Asks the prophet Jeremiah. Where is the salve for our souls? In our world of lies, damn lies, where is the medicine for our spirits? We are told that we are subservient because of the color of our skin. We are told we are subhuman because of our sexual identity or expression. We are subjugated because of our infirmities. We are subpar because of our finances. We are confronted with those damned lies every day. Where is the medicine for our spirits? Here, among your friends, your siblings in the household of freedom of the Holy One. Here where we come and are welcome as equals and especially acknowledged as invaluable to each other. Here we recognize and tell the truth. We rely on each other's word. People sit with us and help mend our sin-sick souls. The medicine for our spirits is sourced from the Spirit of the Holy One. We come here to be at peace. Find a prescription we can use to bring healing to those we love. Remedies we may even bring together to offer healing to our communities and even our nations. We renounce the bad medicine we gave to our indigenous neighbors, a prescription that moved them to a distant place while trying to cure them of what was to us their inferior culture and spirituality. Now, committed to be part of a cure, to seek forgiveness and reconciliation, not only from those in our neighborhood, but across our land, we acknowledge this place as Turtle Island, a home for us all, if we determine to live together, in reconciliation, in mutual honor. We have committed to swallow the medicine of healing for our broken relationship. I invite you to join me in our responsive call to worship. We speak of a God of extravagant and inappropriate grace, who trusts people to be extravagant.
We are those people, thankful for the wealth we enjoy and for all the opportunities we have to share.
To be extravagant with our influence, to help rescue those who buckle under impossible life circumstances. Extravagant as we see and seek liberation for all.
We are community people invited by the Holy One to daily wrestle with the inequality and the darkness, to use our wealth of love and welcome to bring about equity and connection, sufficiency and dignity, to be a community that lives in gratitude, a community that values the gratitude of this day.
In the name of the Christ. Amen. And I invite you to join me in prayer. and you will begin. Why have they provoked me to anger with their images, with their foreign idols? For the hurt of my poor people, I am hurt. I mourn, and dismay has taken hold of me. Why then has the health of my poor people not been restored? Oh, that my head were a spring of water, and my eyes a fountain of tears, so that I might weep day and night for the slain of my poor people. The scripture reading today is from the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible, and it is from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 16, verses 1 through 13. Jesus said to his disciples, "There was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was squandering his property. So he summoned him and said to him, 'What is this I hear about you? Give me an account of your management, because you cannot be my manager any longer.' Then the manager said to himself, 'What will I do now that my master is taking the position away from me? I am not strong enough to dig. I am ashamed to beg. I've decided what to do, so that when I'm dismissed as a manager, people may welcome me into their homes.' So, summoning his master's debtors one by one, he asked the first, 'How much do you owe my master?' He answered, 100 jugs of olive oil. And he said to him, 'Take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 50. And then he asked another, 'And how much do you owe?' And he replied, 100 containers of wheat. And he said to him, 'Take your bill and make it 80. And his master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the children of this age are much more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it is gone, they may welcome you into eternal homes. Whoever is faithful in very little is faithful also in much. And whoever is dishonest in a very little is dishonest also in much. If then you have not been faithful with the dishonest wealth, who will entrust to you the true riches? And if you have not been faithful with what belongs to another, who will give you what is your own? No slave can serve two masters. For a slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth." The theme of the services this month is about lies and truth. And last week we began, and this week we will finish with our version of the BBC game show, Would I Lie to You? And so we have two contestants today who are going to tell you a story, and it will be up to you to interview them and find out and make a decision about whether or not it's a true story or not. Derek is our first truth teller.
Good morning. So my story begins with, as a child, enjoying the dinner table that my parents had.
It's a little closer to you.
Enjoying the dinner table that my parents had, which had these leaves that could be pulled out and magically appear when they were needed to have a slightly larger dinner table. And it now belongs to my sister. And a few years ago, I took up the hobby of furniture making. And so I thought, I could probably figure out how to make one. So it took a bit of work, and I eventually was able to make a copy of this table. And I decided to give it to my son, Patrick. And so we then had to find a truck to take it, because it was too big to fit in my car, take it down to his apartment. He'd forgotten to reserve the freight elevator. So we are now trying to take this large dining room table up in the passenger elevator and then take it down the hall and squeeze it into his little apartment downtown. And that's my story.
Now you have the opportunity to ask him some questions to see if it's a true story. The only question you may not ask is it true? Who would like to ask Derek a question about his story?
What was the table made of, Derek?
White pine, which meant that by the time it was finished, it already had a few scars. White pine is very soft.
Somebody else? Nope.
If his apartment was so small, why did he need such a large table?
You have to ask Patrick why he chooses the furniture he chooses.
Okay, somebody else? Oh.
Derek, how long did your project making the table take?
I think I started making it in September, and I got half of it done in the fall term. I think I finished it in the winter term. This is a couple of years ago. I think it took about 5 months, but that's working on it mostly 1 day a week in the evening.
Anybody else?
Thanks. Derek, could you tell us about the mechanism for taking leaves out and having them appear at the appropriate level and so on?
So the leaves have little runners underneath them that when you pull the leaf out, the leaf rises up from being one level below the tabletop to being flush with the tabletop. And it turns out the tabletop, this is one of the things you learn when you take apart your sister's dining room table. The tabletop actually floats on top of the table. So as you're pulling the leaf up, the tabletop actually floats up, but by the time it's all the way out, it then drops back down again, and it's flush. So it doesn't have any metal mechanisms, which is one of the reasons why I thought it would be interesting to do, because I didn't need to go and figure out how to make the metal mechanisms.
Okay. She asked, what room did you do this in?
Oh, I was doing it at I'm learning how to make furniture at Humber College, and they've got all the tools you need to make furniture. So that's where I was making it.
So what is the original table wood versus the pine that you chose?
The original table is also made of white pine.
Really?
You don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that. He only gets one question. Really is not a question. Ask skeptically or not. Okay, last question.
Did your son get into trouble with property management for not booking the freight elevator?
I don't actually know the answer to that one.
Okay, now you get, as our studio audience, you get to decide whether or not this is a story of veracity or not. How many of you think it is a true story? Okay, put your hands down, please. How many of you think it is fabricated? Oh, about even. Okay, and I didn't look at you guys, sorry. Fabricated, most of the people in the choir think fabricated. Could you put, true story, put your hands up, please? Okay. Okay, thank you. Derek?
Most of it's true. I did make the table, and it is a replica of the one that I grew up with. And I did help my son move a dining room table into his apartment, but a much smaller one. And it was still difficult to move it in, even though he didn't get the one I made.
He's a liar. Okay. Where's our next contestant? Come on up, Heather.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheryl and Melanie are the only two names you need to remember in my story. Once upon a time, I found myself babysitting 4 young children at my niece's home while she and her partner left for a long 3-day weekend. When I arrived, she gave me her usual disciplinary talk. There is no other way to think about this than right or wrong, black or white. I don't like your gray, Heather. So are we clear about that? Anything that they do wrong, they need to have a timeout. Yes, Cheryl. Off they went. I was doing dishes, I think, in the kitchen. The window was open. I could hear the children playing outside on the lawn, but I couldn't see them. All of a sudden, a blood-curdling scream comes from the front lawn, yells, cries, screaming. In runs one of the little boys, and he said, "Melanie caught her finger in the bicycle wheel." Oh my God, I thought. Anyway, then Melanie comes in right after with a stub of a finger. I said, "What happened?" She told me, and I said, "Where's the rest of your finger?" I guess it's on the front lawn." So I ran out, picked it up, brought it back in, and I don't know why I had the presence of mind that I did at the time, but I knew I had to get her to the hospital to get it sewn back on. I ran next door to the neighbors. Yes, they agreed to take care of the little boys. I said, "Where is a hospital?" And she told me how to get there. And I drove Melanie and her part finger and I to the hospital. We went into Emerge. The doctor said, "You know what? It's not going to fuse. I can sew it back together. I'm going to stitch it up, but it's not going to fuse. It's not going to grow back on the way, it should." I thought I was going to die. Cheryl is going to kill me. Anyway, I can't remember what happened next, how we all got home, whether a taxi came later with Melanie or whatever, but there we were. I can still picture it in the kitchen, and the phone rings. There were no cell phones back in those days. The phone rings, and it's Cheryl. And she said, "I got a call a few hours ago from a doctor in Emerge asking me actually for permission to sew her finger back on. We're coming home right away." And that's the end of my story.
It's a little cringeworthy. Okay. I must have some skeptic people here. Okay, hang on.
It's Carissa speaking. That is so far-fetched that I think it's true.
Okay, no question there, just to vote right immediately. Who has a question? You're all sitting there thinking about your fingers, aren't you?
How did you travel, Heather? You referenced they told me how to get there when you talked with the neighbors, and then you made reference to a cab getting back home.
How did I get there?
Yeah, did you drive?
I drive, just the same way I drove to their place. Well, again, I can't remember whether I waited a long time for Melanie or whether I went back home and they sent her home in a cab after they had stitched it up. I don't remember. All I remember is this picture of us all in the kitchen and the phone ringing, and it was Cheryl.
Okay, our resident discerner of the truth has a question.
Which finger was it?
It was what we used to call in those days, again, why I freaked out, the wedding engagement ring finger.
I saw a hand over here. Okay.
How old was Melanie?
How old was Melanie?
Melanie.
4.
Oh, Mary?
How did the hospital get Cheryl's phone number so easily?
I had to give it when I gave her, her name, her address, and her phone number.
Whose bike was it?
I don't know. I never bothered thinking about that.
Anybody in the choir have a question? Oh, look at all those hands going up. Hang on. They just happen to be related to each other, too.
Was there any injury to any of the other fingers on the hand?
No.
No is the answer. No other fingers were injured in the filming of this video.
How is her finger now?
Use the microphone. Use the microphone.
It's not good.
The finger is not good.
It's not good. She has it. Apparently the dead skin dropped off and something reformed, but it's not the way it should be.
It is not the way it should be. Something reformed afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Time for one more question. No? Okay. No, you already had one, Alan. Sorry. You burned your opportunity. Okay. Nick, are you putting your hand up? Nope. Okay. All right. Tell us, is it a true story or not?
You have to vote.
Well, one person already voted for all of you. I mean, hang on. Okay. All of those of you who think it's a true story, hands up. Oh, not terribly convincing there. Oh, there's some of the choir think there's some parents who think, yeah, that could have happened. All those of you who think it's completely fabricated. Yeah, just hold up your fingers. Thank you, Derek. Okay. All right. So now drum roll, please. And
It is a true story. I saw Melanie last weekend. That's why I wasn't here. And I saw her finger. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. True
okay. So here's my question that I would have asked. Did you ever babysit for them again? Okay, so here's what I need. I think you picked up my bulletin when you sat down. No, it's got my notes in it, thank you. There we go. Oh yeah, it's time for the reflection. Got it. Here's a story one of my fathers in the faith told me. Albrecht and Albert Dürer were brothers. They were brothers in a large but poor family. Both showed real promise as artists, and both merited further training, but neither could afford it. The family came up with a solution. There was a coin toss. Albrecht won, and Albert agreed to work in the local coal mines for 4 years to pay for his brother's tuition. When Albrecht finished art school, he would work in the coal mines to pay for Albert's tuition. Or if he made enough money as an artist, this is how he would finance his brother's turn at school. Albrecht was an instant success. And at the party his family threw for him to celebrate his graduation, he turned to his brother and said, "Now it's your turn." And Albert, beaming with pride for his brother, said no. 4 years in the mines had ruined his hands. He could not hold a pen or brush. In tribute to his brother, Albrecht drew a picture of the praying hands. Could you put that up on the screen, please? Thank you. The story told to me by one of my fathers in the faith, a seminary professor, is not true. You might even have heard it in the past. The artwork was a preliminary sketch for an altarpiece, simply for Albrecht to display his skill. Today, we heard a story Jesus told about our uneasy relationship with the truth. It's a tricky story because we read it and we're going, how do we interpret something like this? He seems to be telling us that it is okay to be a cheat. But there is no moral to the story until you get to the end. And those who first heard this story would not be surprised. There's a wealthy servant who's about to lose his job. Yeah. Who sells out to the clients in hope of employment elsewhere, hoping they will owe him a favor, whose clients will admire his shrewdness while reminding themselves to keep an eye on him. No big deal. It happens all the time. It's probably how he was raised. Those who have much know how to keep it. The parable is not God talk. It's a story to make the hearers wonder what they would do in the same circumstances. And the odds are that in the same circumstances, everyone listening to Jesus would go, yep, I would do exactly the same thing. I will use all of my resources to get through this crisis. For Jesus, the crisis is daily. What is your life dedicated to? What do you put your intellect and energy into? What are the lies you will tell yourself to preserve your way of life? What are the lies you will tell others to preserve your way of life? Here is Jesus' moral, presented as an absolute. You cannot serve God, and as the King James Version has it, mammon. You cannot serve God and wealth. You cannot give your life to the things which transcend when you are determined to preserve what you have in hand, your worldly wealth. Jesus offers a harsh description of reality. This is a story everyone understands and everyone can put themselves into. Except for one short line. Whoever is faithful in very little is faithful in much. Whoever is faithful in very little, in the eyes of the Holy One, is faithful in much. You don't have to be perfect. You don't even have to be worried about your ethics all the time. You don't have to be perfect. You simply need to make smart decisions for the things which are transcendent, things of transcendent consequence. When you are faced with moment-to-moment decisions about what you are going to do, bring all of your intellect and everything that you would bring to preserve your own skin in a situation like this to that which will last far longer and make a larger difference in the lives of others. And you do it one quick response at a time. Let me put his parable in the form of a question. Do you want to be known for being enslaved to wealth? or as someone who is captivated by their spiritual journey? Tell yourself the truth. Be true to yourself. When you have an opportunity for something that will change for the better someone else's life, do you bring everything to that moment? All of your intellect, all of your skills, everything that you've learned, to the same level you would bring if you were threatened with bankruptcy. Tell yourself the truth. I mean, Jesus knows that because he talks about money more than anything else in the Gospels. That's his number one subject. He knows that we all lose the battle of serving God and mammon. Mammon wins with regularity. We are unable to ignore the demands of money on our lives. Would Jesus tell the same parable in today's society of complex monetary transactions? How we manage paying our bills, the time we put into our investments, or worrying if we have enough to get us through? Of course he would. Of course he would. When was the last full day you can remember not thinking about money? Not an hour. You can usually get through an hour. When was the last full day that you got through without thinking about money? Jesus gets this. But instead of stressing about it and instead of piling on a lot of guilt, he knows that we're pretty good at doing that for ourselves. He invites us to tell ourselves this. It may not balance it, but a little service, a little faithfulness to the Holy One counts. If you are faithful in a little, it is viewed as faithfulness in a lot. The prophet Jeremiah, with whom we began this morning, was angry at the suffering he saw coming for his people because of their drift away from God. Their choice to walk away from God, their choice to ignore God, their choice to serve mammon, and to hear even a religion and a spirituality that validated that. And he cries out, "The harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. For the hurt of my poor people I am hurt. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then has the health of my poor people not been restored? Oh, that my head were a spring of water and my eyes a fountain of tears, so that I might weep day and night for the slain of my poor people." Balm, spelled as I'm sure you know, B-A-L-M, for Jeremiah was a resin that came from the striax tree, used for medicinal purposes. It was antiseptic, it was a counter-irritant, and there were physicians in Judah, and they had medicine, but there wasn't enough to heal all of the people's wounded souls. The land was in drought. People were hungry. They mourned because they thought Yahweh had deserted them. And Jeremiah mourned because the people had isolated themselves from God. They'd made it worse. They saw only their own problems and their own future. They had trouble seeing each other. Now, next week, we're going to talk about breaking the hold of generational lies through Jeremiah, who will offer us hope. After the 9/11 attack, Pascal Bauté, a Roman Catholic priest in Florida, wrote of a world where we are no longer safe, even in our homes, even in our places of work. He described a world where neither the government nor private industry is capable of keeping us safe. And I would add these years later that in his home country and other countries, the government is actively eroding the safety of its people. Babaute wrote, living in this different world means checking out our relationships with other people. Power and action are not more important than discussion. We have no choice but to reimagine being in a family of nations, all of whom need each other's help. Words for me that are resonant today. 600 years after Jeremiah, Jesus acknowledged the lengths people will go to guarantee their own future. And invites us to consider if we will bring all of our power, all of our wisdom, all of our intellect, all of our influence to bear for the sake not of ourselves, but for others. As you bring your offering this day, I invite you to think particularly of what you offer as intellect and compassion and intensity and intention all that you will bring. We will receive an offering that is token of all of that. But as the plates are going by and as you are hearing the music, think about what you bring that is not about mammon, but that is transcendent. Peace to you. In our nothing for nothing world, grace makes little sense. We can't believe that we would be welcome in the name of the Christ, uplifted and restored so freely. Our faith is not transactional. We do not learn love as a bargaining chip. We seek to understand that the needs of others are a gift to us, an opportunity to be channels of generosity and dignity, to experience together the miracle of grace. This inappropriate grace of Jesus is a remarkable thing, liberating and renewing and transforming, raising up the least and surprising the great, creating connections where none would usually be, and scandalizing those who worship the gods of wealth, legality, exclusivity, and custom. We leave in thanks for a grace that ignores our sensibilities and that welcomes, heals, and dignifies. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate this content, please share it with your friends. Consider giving us a like, subscribing, and hitting the notification icon, as it really helps our channel. And as always, be good to you.